we basically create our own reality. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go too, and give you some more substantiation of what you're talking about. So yeah, and that's perception. We take what is known and we alter it. Well, how do we do that? There's a whole series of processes that go on. And Mary, you probably remember this from 6 weeks ago from the first get-together. This is what I call the big giant head, and it is the neuro-linguistic programming model of communication. And basically what we're looking at here is reality, or the external events, are out here. And it shows it coming in the eyes, but of course we all know we have 5, some of us believe 6 senses that pick up things and bring it in all those different manners. But the events are perceived. And then what we do with them is we filter them. And there are 3 big filters, which everybody does, which are deletion, distortion, and generalization. And those are kind of the biggies that get rid of a lot of the peripheral stuff. If we didn't delete some things out of our field, we'd go crazy because we don't have the capacity to process everything that's going on around us. There's just too much. So that's deletion. Distortion. This is a wonderful example of a distortion right here. The artist has either seen this particular image, or he's created it, or she, I forget what it is. That's a he. Peter has created it in his mind, and he's put it down on a canvas. And you'll notice that if you were to look at that actual location, things would be a little crisper, a little clearer. What he's done is he's kind of made it into a little more abstract image. He's distorted it just a little bit. And in my opinion, it's beautiful. I would love to go there. And it leaves just enough to the imagination that I can think maybe this is a real place, maybe it isn't. And he's allowed that distortion to kind of open the doors to more possibility for me to see in just one painting. The other one is generalization. That's the one where you'll come up to a door. Everybody pretty much knows how a door works, because if you've done it once, there's really only 2 or 3 main kinds of doors in the world. So each time you come to a new door, you don't have to stop and go, what is this? I've not seen this before. Now I got to figure out how it works. Well, if you've done one, you've done just about all of them. So that's generalization. And then the ones that really get much more subjective, and these are subjective as well into how much we delete, distort, and generalize, but the ones that are really very centrally individual to each one of us are all of the other ones here. And I realize they're a little dark, so I'll just read through them. But they're time, space, and matter, energy. How do you perceive yourself in time and space? What is around you, the language that you speak, the memories that you have, the previous decisions that you've made in your life, metaprograms, which are some of the ways that we process the information that we get when we perceive the world, and that's a whole other topic that we can go into, but it's one of the limits, one of the filters. Values and beliefs, and that's one that's touched on very often by many different disciplines. Beliefs are a very, very powerful way that we filter and interpret our world. And the last one is attitudes. And a lot of these play off of each other. Many times because of the beliefs that we have, we will adopt a certain attitude towards certain ideas, concepts, people, etc. And through all of that filtering, what we do is we create that internal representation, which, based on the fact that if you have one filter, you're seeing something just a little bit different than reality. And most of us have a lot of different filters. So we're really altering what exactly happened over here, and we're creating that internal representation, which shows up in our minds either as an image or a sound or a feeling of some kind, which of course is down in here. You get a physiology. So if something causes you to feel fear, your physical person is going to contract, constrict, get ready to either fight or fly, fight or flight response. And an emotional state often will come with that as well. From there, the little tiny thing that happens that everybody sees is the behavior. And this model I mentioned last time is actually set up to show it just this way, because this is huge. And the result is listed as small, but that's usually the thing that we focus on. What is it that we want to change? What is it that we want to have more of? What is it that we want just to be different in some way? And often we'll focus on that, and we'll try and just change that without addressing the fact that we've really got a lot going on up here that is creating our perception. And I want to write this word up too, because our perception then becomes our own individual subjective truth. So really, when you're talking about what is true, what is not true, What you're saying is, what is it that I perceive? What is true for me? And that's a question that I ask a lot in session work, is what has to be true for a person for them to respond or to act in a certain way? Which brings me, of course, right back to what's going on here, which is where therapeutic coaching does all of the work, is finding out what is going on with your filters and your processes, rather than just jumping down to the behavior. We say, what would you rather be doing instead of that? We find out the outcome, and then we back up and we say, all right, what is it, which filter, which area is being affected? And usually it's a combination. But how do we change the process here in order to affect a different behavior, rather than just try and cut it off and the tail wag the dog, if you will. Any questions on that? That's a real quick overview of basically how we create that truth, that perception. And I know it can be a little confusing. Anything?
Congruous, I like that word.
Congruous.
Congruous is a good word for truth. What's congruent into us, you know, what goes along with us.
Sure, and the more congruent you are between your understanding of the world, your truth, and the reality of what is actually out there, the less difficulty you're going to have, the more aligned you're going to be with your soul path, your soul processes, your inner wisdom, your higher self. Anything else? Sue, you look like you had a little something there.
Well, perhaps I shouldn't talk so much about CC, but you know, there was, I can mention, there was a discussion between Tagore, the author, you know, who got the Nobel Prize from India. He was from India. Tagore, yeah. Oh, you know it. And Einstein in the 1930, and they talked about truth. And Einstein represented the Western point of view, objective reality, the truth, so, and independent of the human mind. But Tagore didn't say so. He said he believed there is a supreme, superpersonal man, something, a universal being, and this is principle human, and we are in perhaps images of that, and that is the truth. So the truth is in the mind of God, so to speak, and man is personal. It is. So he had perhaps a subjective, objective, but this so far, and I am surprised that you put the truth not on reality but on perception there, because that we have the in Western we put the truth on reality rather than perception. But so and I don't know why they are more subjective in India. Are they different, or we are more scientific, so to speak, than they are, and they are yogis and so forth. So of course I can understand it, and they have the Vedas. So, now I must finish there.
No, that's a great point. I'm sorry, I should move that sooner. The word truth is often interpreted as the reality, and in some senses you can certainly use it that way. If you're talking about an absolute objective truth, that could be the same thing as the objective reality. And the reason that I'm putting it down here is because I really feel that we each develop our own truth based on those perceptions. Yeah. And if you believe that there's a higher being, as in what's the name of the
Tagore.
Tagore? Okay.
Tagore.
And I haven't read any of the work, so I'm not familiar with Tagore. But if he believes in a higher being, now what we're back to is a filter. He's got a belief that is driving how he sees things and how he labels it.
It is.
And that's exactly where his truth is true for him, and somebody else that may not believe in a higher being, their truth will be different from that too.
Yeah.